Hello, everybody. For the second time today, it's another My Music. But of course, it could be the first time if you're watching this or listening to this on the old Spotify or whatever it is. I'm going to be joined by Kat Eaton in a minute, and we're going to talk all things music, etc. We've already had a lovely look at the board and talked about a few names on there. But first, here's the video. Well, there you go. What a visual extravaganza that was, wasn't it?
Got into that.
Yeah, it's got a groove, hasn't it?
Yeah.
It's got a groove. Now, listen, when I was reading, when your press people sent me everything about you, etc., and it was great. It was great to discover you. Sometimes it's lovely that I try as hard as possible to keep up with everything that's out there music-wise, and then sometimes you just hear things on the radio, or somebody gives you a name or says, have you heard this? And then sometimes actually it's through the industry and people actually say, oh, could you do an interview with this person? Then you have to go and find out about them and you go, oh, wow, this is magnificent. Where have I been all of these years? So it's been a pleasure discovering your music over the last week or so as I was given the opportunity. But as soon as I read your press release, there was one name on there that jumped out immediately, because for me, they're a bit of a hero. And I'd like to just start by talking about them, which is Jools Holland.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. How did your association with Jools all come about?
I started, well, obviously knew Jools of Jools forever, and huge fan, and was watching Later with Jools religiously for years and years. So I knew I just always wanted to be able to work with him in some capacity. And I started, I got to know Ruby Turner through a friend of ours who's a radio plugger, Chris Hettian, and got to know her, me and my husband Nick, who is a writer and producer. And we started writing together, and then Ruby decided that she wanted to write and record an album, and she wanted to write it, and Nick produced it. So we basically started up a conversation and a relationship with her, and then that led to her saying, you should really try and see if you can get on tour with this with Jools. And so she put our name forward, and then we did 4 stints. So yeah, it was brilliant, really nice, and really, really awesome experience going all over the UK. And we did a gig in Amsterdam as well at the Paradiso, which was amazing.
Did you get to speak to Jools much?
Yeah, loads. Yeah, he's really generous with his time, and really, really lovely man. And and was interested to know what I was doing and what music I was bringing out, and was happy to take the CDs. I don't know whether he listened to them, but I'm hoping so. Really lovely.
You mean they've got pride of place in his collection?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And always, because we did a few tours, always remembering who I was and asking me what's going on, and inviting me and Nick backstage for the big curry night, which was always lovely when he gets the curry for everybody in a town that he really likes the curry houses of.
That's fantastic.
So yeah, but I'm originally from Cardiff, and then I grew up in Sheffield, and one of our favourite gigs was supporting Jools at the City Hall in Sheffield. So there was tons of people in the audience who knew me, which was amazing. And then Jools gets me and Nick up on stage to do the last song with the full band. So generous with his time.
I love that. Well, I'm pleased to hear that.
Yeah, he's everything you imagine he is and more.
Yeah. I imagine he is, because he knows a few people that I know, and I've kind of gleaned from talking to them that he may well be like that. Did he teach you anything?
Well, his stagecraft is absolutely insane, isn't it? I love the way he works the crowd. And one of the best things, because if you're going on tour with him, he does use some of the same jokes every time, but I still laugh every time. So he has this way of keeping things fresh, even though you've heard the joke a few times. And he's just so awesome at grabbing people's attention, keeping their attention, and keeping them involved. And what he taught me was kind of about how fun you have to create your gigs. You can't get lost.
You've got to create that fun. Don't expect that fun to come from the audience necessarily. You've got to. Yeah.
You have, and you've got to make sure that your ego doesn't get in the way. Fair enough, you write songs and you're proud of songs and you're selling your merch and all that's all very important. But the main thing when people come out to a gig is that they want to feel seen and that they want to have fun. And he's really good at not being too egocentric and just understanding that fact. And it was really, really humbling to observe. And it did kind of make me go, oh yeah, that's the most important part. When people come to gigs, they have to have fun. I don't want to be showing them this particular song and the particular chord progression that I'm really proud of. They really need to pay attention to this bit. No. They want to have fun. They can go and observe all of that and analyze all of that at a later date on this record if they want to. But yeah, it's all about having a good laugh with the crowd, and he's amazing at it.
Well, talking about great names, I mean, Jools and Ruby. I mean, a great artist she is as well. What a fantastic voice, which just keeps going as well. Yeah. But who was it along the line of you getting into music and developing music? Who was it that you met or that you suddenly worked with at some point or whatever that made the biggest difference to you in terms of where your music went?
Well, yeah, I think it's in the press release, that wonderful man called Frank White, who it was a guitar and singer blues legend from Sheffield. He basically was a bit of a mentor to both my husband Nick and I, and he got us our first gig at the Crown in Totley. He helped us get onto little festivals in Sheffield. He told us, because me and my husband Nick, we were 16 when we first started going out and playing music together.
Mere youngsters.
Yeah, lovely, isn't it? And Frank was just there saying all the time from the very beginning, make sure you write music, make sure that you are creating content that you're able to sell when you're older and you don't want to gig anymore. And that was a really amazing thing to be able to hear at 16 years old. So that's when we started writing songs then. And we kind of honed our craft as we got, older and stuff. And the songs we're releasing now are much better than the ones we were writing back when we were 16. But it was a really great, springboard to be able to start our careers at 16, knowing that where the money is and the longevity of your career and less stress is probably from writing music and releasing that music, as well as gigging. Gigging is the best. Obviously, it's the reason you get into it in the first place. But yeah, so he was awesome. He got us our first gig, and he set us on the right trajectory to be able to have a long career and a steady career. And I'm hoping that it lasts.
Yeah, well, of course. I think that's the great advice you hear from any great songwriter.
Yeah.
And I think I've mentioned it on here before, but I can vividly remember a TV program. I think it was a Channel 4 program where they had Duffy at the beginning of her career. You remember Duffy? Yeah. In a room with Paul Weller. And they were getting Paul Weller to try and give Duffy any piece of advice that he possibly could think of, and he just said, "Keep writing, right." Yeah, because it's a muscle, isn't it?
Yeah, you're right. Muscle memory of writing, and it's just so important. Also, hugely cathartic. So why wouldn't you?
Yeah, but a lot of, and maybe not maybe not so much in your genre, but certainly in sort of like a lot of young musicians these days seem to be falling into the kind of a trap of, because it's kind of what they've been told that they need to do, of release something, do all of this business bit, and then release the next bit, etc. So it sometimes takes away from the writing. And I've
Mm,
had conversations with some young musicians where it's been like, I do think I ought to write a bit more,
yeah.
but I've kind of been told do it this particular way. Do you think that's a kind of a trap that a lot of young musicians fall into these days?
Yeah, I can totally see that is a very easy trap to fall into. Um, and also they might have pressures from labels and stuff to be putting out a certain amount of content or a certain amount of songs each year. And yeah, and it's hard to be able to hone your craft if you're just releasing the next thing that comes out of your brain, basically. You know, when you write an album and you release an album, you've written 1,000 songs behind the scenes that just don't make the cut, and that's really important to have that process. And quite often me and Nick will write a few songs that are around the same theme just by accident, or just because we're sort of a bit obsessed about that theme and we want to try and really get the right message across with the song. And then only one of those will make the cut, because you can't have 1,000 songs about the same theme on an album. But I think I'm quite an old-fashioned person in that I want to release albums rather than singles. And I still feel like it's there's still a want for it. There's still people still enjoy getting a physical hard copy of a CD or a vinyl, especially. I still think there's some.
It's coming back. It's
Yeah,
coming back. Whether I mean, it never completely disappeared. There was always an audience for albums, but
yeah,
the requirement to have something physical is coming back. I mean, every young band now is now
mm,
producing stuff on vinyl again, and even
yeah.
tape and whatever. Why do you think that is in particular? Do you think
I don't know.
we've kind of become a little bit fed up with the fact that, you know, music's become so digitalized that it's just kind of too easy? And do you think it's because people have felt that they haven't had that attachment
Mm,
to
and
where that music's coming from, and they want to get something of that back?
yeah, I think so. I mean, so for me, for the artwork on my albums, I create. I'm on Photoshop. I'm creating everything, and obviously I have photo shoots, but we talk about the direction and what I'm going to wear and the colors that we want to have and how that will portray a certain sound, because you want to be able to have a vision and an image that portrays that encompasses the genre that you're part of, which is hard. But so yeah, so I think when I receive a vinyl or a tape or a CD, I am able to see a little bit more into the artist themselves, because quite often a lot of those artists will be designing all of that themselves, even if they're not, very savvy with Photoshop. They'll be saying, "No, I want that there, and I want that there." And the fact that the physical holding something that is very physical, and you can read the lyrics and everything, and you have it in your hand, it's a much more visceral experience than it is just listening to a crappy MP3 version. And to be able to master it for vinyl as well, that's like an added level of love that I feel like people get that. They feel like there's been care taken
Mm.
into creating a product. And if that care is taken into creating that product, then that person is going to cherish that product a bit more than they would do if they were just clicking on something on Spotify. So there's also like collectibles. People are kind of getting into more collectible stuff nowadays, aren't they? And there's the LP that's coming out, which is my first record, is going to be a limited edition copy. So there's only going to be 500 made. And that's quite an exciting thing. I think people are kind of into digging that now. Something that's less something, because with social media and anything that is online, it's also ephemeral. If you have something that's tangible that you can put on the wall, that you can stick on your record player, that you can take out in the car and put in your CD player, you just have much more of a connection to it, a physical and emotional connection. And I think that's very important when people are digesting music, that they have as much of a connection as possible, because it means that the songs will connect and resonate with them, with their lives and with them. That's a very important thing.
I also think that, it's become incredibly important because there's so much music out there now. Because it's the distribution model is basically free, isn't it? Almost, it's not like years ago where you had to have records and you had to, sign these massive distribution deals. You can literally upload your music and there it is for everybody. I think that artists have had to find a way of creating those communities again, and maybe there's perhaps for a lot of artists there's not the time element that bands and artists used to have to create that following. They've got to do it quicker, so they need to find more ways of creating a community around them very quickly. And that's it's quite nice to see in a way. It's quite nice to see a lot of independent artists, for example, kind of really geeing their fan base up to really kind of support them. I even saw like everything this morning were putting out a thing saying that I've they had a tweet or something from, or a WhatsApp message from their mum, saying how I'm going to go down the shop now, love, and buy it, because they're trying to get their album out to number
That's
one.
really good.
And I love that. Yeah. And they were like, well, you can just download it, mum. It still counts. It's fine, but I love that. I love that bands and artists are kind of sharing in that way and trying to make people feel like it's part of a family experience. That's nice.
Yeah, that is a nice thing. You're totally right.
So, yeah, no, that's it. Now, listen, you work with your husband.
Yeah.
Is there ever any competition there?
Oh, well, I mean, competition, probably not. Definitely artistic differences. Definitely. And the way that we write is together is we'll sometimes just write something from scratch, or sometimes we'll bring a start to the other and then finish it. And both of us write chords, both of us write melodies, both of us write lyrics. So it's all up for grabs, really. I quite often, because I'm not like, I learned to play piano when I was a kid, and then I just got bored and didn't enjoy the whatchamacallums, exams. And so I don't, my theory, my knowledge, knowledge of theory is pretty limited. Nick's much more intellectual in that kind of capacity. So I'll write things that change key that sound actually really, they don't sound mental. They're kind of really quite freefall. And he's just like, I have no idea how you've come up with the chord progression for that, but it does work. But I really think that you need to know what you're doing. And I'm like, no, it's fine. It's great. I really enjoy just kind of weaving around these.
Yeah, we've had that conversation so many times on this show, which is that, it's one of those kind of weird dichotomies in the sort of music sphere, which is that on one hand, I think most musicians that don't know the theory side of stuff, etc., would love to know the theory side of stuff. And then I think that there's a lot of musicians that are incredibly competent musicians in terms of all of the theory and whatever, who would love to know how to forget it sometimes and go back the other way, so that you break rules. So it's nice that you've got that kind of combination there, etc. Is there anything that are there any sort of golden rules between you that this is never going into a song? I mean, could you like both musically but also sort of content wise, it's like, I wrote this about you last night, well, that's not going in the song then.
I wrote this about hating you so much, you're horrible. I mean, well, we've got a song called All Kinds of Crazy, which is a song about us in a long-term relationship doing each other's heads in. So there's not a lot of stuff that we wouldn't put in. I guess if it gets right personal, then that's not good. And sometimes with when we're writing together and there's a song that I'm really, really wanting to put in, and he wants to change a couple of lines, and I'll just say to him, no, I can't. And I get sort of, and you need to give me a moment here. You need to be kind to me, and I'm feeling very triggered at the moment, and so quite often I'll get my way because I'm being being a bit emotional, and he's like, okay, fine. But no, there's nothing that we probably won't talk about unless it's very specific. But let's find out. I mean, next album, we'll see.
Who knows? Who knows? I wanted to ask you. I mean, with the style of music that you make,
yeah.
I mean, you must be very conscious of the kind of history, if you like, of where that, or the cultures and the history of where that comes from. How do you balance sort of like taking it forward stylistically, but keeping it authentic enough in its roots, if you like, to where it's come from, so that it, it's sounding like something that has had that kind of connection to the tradition of the past and whatever, but that actually is still sounding fresh. How do you find that, getting that balance, or does that just come naturally?
Oh no, it never doesn't come naturally at all. I think that's probably more a question for Nick, because I think that's part of that is production, isn't it? And part of that is arrangement, which is what Nick is really good at. Yeah, it's hard to not become a pastiche of something from the past, and that's something that we don't want to do. But we also enjoy, there's plenty of bands that I love that are like that, and they're really successful. And there's something nostalgic and therefore commercial about it, and potentially more commercial than the work that we're putting out. But I think the way that I've tried to do it is within the lyrics, really. It's so with this new album, this is called Honestly, and there's lots of stuff about mental health in there, lots of stuff about mine and Nick's relationship as well, which we've never really divulged before. And there's lots of ways of speaking that are lots of lyrics that are to do with what's happening today. I think that's the only way you can kind of make it sound like it is current. But I want there to be a nod to the past, because it defines the artist I am, and it's the music that I most like to create. So I have to honor all of those artists that helped inspire that, and I want to as well, and I like the sound of it.
When was it that you knew that was the style for you? When was it you discovered your voice fitted that?
Oh, I guess probably when I did a little song at I was a very shy child. I used to wear a fleece zipped up to the eyeballs, and I never really spoke to anyone.
Yeah.
And then I was desperate to sing, though, and I was in a choir, and then I started singing Eva Cassidy songs and playing guitar and filming them with an old camera. My mum and dad would be very supportive of that and watch it back and be like, right, do that differently. Anyway, so I started getting a little bit more confidence from that. I couldn't quite find the nerve to do a solo performance at the Christmas concert when I was 14, but I did manage to do a duet with someone called Kat. She's also called Kat Bodie, and we did
Do you still keep in touch with Kat?
No, I don't actually.
Kat, if you're hearing this as it goes out, do get back in touch. That'd be nice, wouldn't it?
Yeah. So we did this song from The Commitments, and it was and I
had you actually seen The Commitments?
Yeah.
You had.
That's another little story. It's bad. So I was 12, 11 when I watched The Commitments. Oh no, I've no idea how old I was. Anyway, you can do the maths when you work out when Diana died, because basically I watched The Commitments at like 5 a.m, because I was awake and excitable, and I had nothing to do, and I was staying at a family friend's house. And then it finished. Then the news came on saying Diana had died. But I didn't tell anybody, and I didn't think about it, and I wasn't really old enough to know that was a big deal. And so I just rewatched The Commitments again. So I was hogging the telly for another 2 hours, and then I did it again. So everyone in the house didn't know that Diana had died until about midday. So that was my obsession with the Commitments and all of the music from that. So that's where I knew from very early age that I loved that, and also seeing Frank White at a concert when I was around the same age, doing loads of rhythm and blues and soul and gospel, and I was like, oh, that's amazing. So we played. So it's a long story short, me and Kat played or did that song. What did I say? At the Dark End of the Street. And I remember she did her first part, so there was like a solo part for her, and then I did my solo part second. And I remember everybody gasping in the audience. I don't think it was bad, but I think everybody was gasping because they were so shocked to hear me sing, let alone speak. And they all said that my voice sounded very mature and soulful. So I knew at that age that I had something quite unique. And it was more mature than my years of, tender years of 14, singing these emotional big songs and soulful songs. So yeah,
can we promise people now, if they're watching this, that if the new album goes gold, that you might recreate that again somewhere?
Oh yeah, that would be great, wouldn't it? I'd like
there
that.
you go. If you manage to get this to go gold, guys, if you can pay some money and get it to go gold, then you expect Kat to do a re-rendition of that.
Yeah,
actually dressed. Yeah, actually dressed in the right attire as well to do that. I think that would be
recorded in Silverdale School.
Yeah,
everything in the
hallway. And if we can get hold of your friend to come and do it with you, that would be even better, wouldn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah. What's left on the sort of ambition list for you?
So I'm going to be doing some touring this year, which I'm very excited about, with the band over in Germany and Netherlands and France. And up until now, I've only ever done touring as a duo with me and Nick, supporting Jools and Paul Carrack and Marc Broussard and the Teskey Brothers, some really awesome guys. But we haven't ever taken the band over, and we haven't ever really done headline shows. So this is what we're doing now, and I'm so excited about that. And we're doing a really cool festival in Germany, in Erlen, and one in I'm going to get it all wrong. And somewhere, look at my tour dates, you'll see. And some stuff in the Netherlands and France, and that's going to be beautiful to have the band with us doing all of those shows. So more of that, basically. This is the first time that we've been doing it, so I just want to capitalize on it and just continue doing more stuff in Europe with the band, because I think over there they do seem to like us, and I think it would be awesome to keep doing that. Obviously want to play Royal Albert Hall and go over to America as well.
Obviously
doesn't everyone?
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, American artists, is there an American artist you particularly want to go and support?
Well, for a long time I really wanted to support Tedeschi Chuck's band. They think they're absolutely awesome. Lake Street Dive would be fun. Who else would I like? I don't know. I mean, John Mayer would be a big big one.
That would be big, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I mean, obviously we can go big. But yeah, there are so many wonderful artists over there that would be really fun to support. But also just doing some headline shows, and I think our music would go down well over there as well.
Yeah. Have you ever thought about having a sort of songwriting session out in America at all with a group of people out there?
Yeah, I've never. So I've been to America once in my life when I was 16 to New York with the school, and I loved it. And it's just the expense of getting out there, and if you are to go out there, you have to, and you're hoping to have a bit of a career out there, you have to sort of say to yourself, well, I have to set aside some money for next year for it as well. So if money was no issue, I'd be over there and doing sessions all the time. And I know a lot of people that do that in Nashville and in LA, and it's really beneficial, and it's opened up their careers. And it does feel like a natural progression to do that. But I just need some more money to be able to do it. Maybe I'll do a Patreon.
Yeah, I think that's a really good idea. And of course, we're going to get everyone to get the album so it goes gold, because they want to see the video anyway. I want to ask you, I mean, you met Paul Carrack. Did you ask him whether he wanted another cup of coffee?
or a flannel for his face, or a toothbrush.
Yeah.
I no, unfortunately not. He's lovely. So we obviously know him from Sheffield. He's got his Sheffield connection. He's a Wednesday fan as well. So Nick is, and the bass player that plays with Paul Carrack, he's an old friend of ours, and he's played on all of our albums. He's called Jeremy Meek, and he was, so that gig that I told you about, the first gig that I ever did at the Crown in Totley that Frank White got us. Nick managed to convince Jeremy Meek, who had just come off tour playing for Joe and Arbor Trading, to come and play for us in the Crown of Totley for 30 quid. He never met us before.
For £30, my word.
Yeah, he just come back and he was like, I don't know what I'm doing with my life. And Nick called the house phone when he wasn't there at the pub, because he hadn't turned up. He was like 10 minutes late. He called the house phone, didn't have his mobile. His wife, Claire, picked up the phone and said, oh, no, he's set off. He's come. He's coming. Don't worry about it. And she apparently called Jeremy, livid with him, saying, what are you doing? He's like, I'm just in the car park. I'm just wondering whether to go away. And it's so embarrassing. It's only 30 quid. And I don't know who these people are. And I've just been on doing this Joe Number Trading. They're probably awful. And she convinced him to go inside and do the gig. And he was very pleased to do it. And we often laugh about it now and all of that. But yeah, that was our little connection with Paul. But yeah, very funny.
Do you know what? I love those little stories in music, and I think genuinely that most musicians will do something for the love of music.
Yeah, absolutely.
Really, I mean, yeah, it helps to get paid.
Yeah,
as it does for everybody. But I do think that most musicians, given the opportunity, will do it for the music. And over the years, I've had those lovely little opportunities where, I've managed to pull somebody up onto a bandstand here or onto a stage here and say, go on. And yeah, okay. And you hear the most magical moments as you put two people together. Absolutely. Sometimes you would have never have got together, and then it springboards into something wonderful and blossoms.
Yeah,
you know, that's the beautiful thing of it all. Listen, Kat.
Yeah,
I shall leave you to enjoy the rest of your day, but it's been an absolute pleasure meeting you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Half an hour just went whoosh, like that.
Yeah, thank you very much. I was just going to mention, obviously, buy the album, pre-order the album out on the 22nd of March, but also we're doing Loose Ends on BBC4 airing out next Saturday. What is that? I can't remember.
Fantastic.
Whatever next Saturday is. In March, and if you want to listen to that, then head over there, listen to it.
Please do, folks. Go and check out Kat's music on Loose Ends, but just look on Spotify as well.
Yeah, tons on there.
Do that, but please, where's the best place to pre-order the album?
If you just go to my website, cateaton.com, it's on there, front page.
Do you know what the great thing about that, Kat, is you've got a name that people can actually spell.
I know, but are they going to spell it with a C? And are they going to go E-T-O-N like the school? Oh, no, it's an absolute nightmare.
It's harder than you think, isn't it?
Yeah, I know. A lot of people call me Kat Eaton as well, which is...
Kat Eaton.
Yeah, that kills me. Hate that. Don't do that.
Oh, no. Well, we will make sure that doesn't happen, because what I do is I'm going to put the links in so that people find it and get straight to the point, so that they can go. And please do go and pre-order the album. I think you've got some merch there as well, haven't you?
I've got some vinyls and I got some CDs, signed vinyls, signed CDs, and I've got the old albums there as well. So yeah, head over there and have a listen.
There's nothing wrong with the old albums either.
There's nothing wrong with the old albums.
Nothing wrong with them. So go and buy. You need to buy those, folks, to prop up the new album.
Absolutely.
Right. That's the way it all works.
Listen, and the most important one is getting the vinyl, because it's my first vinyl and I want everyone to buy it, and I'm excited about it.
And you want the gold one?
I want the gold one.
She wants the gold one. Yes. Thank you so much for coming on. It's been an absolute pleasure. Folks, please do go and support Kat Eaton, not Kat Eaton or whatever it was. And no, definitely not. We'll put out all of the links so you can go and do that. If you've enjoyed this today, this has been my music. If you haven't enjoyed it, it's been something else and you don't really want to share it, but that's up to you. Okay. We will see you again next time for more My Music. Until then, bye for now.